Science and science fiction were once two vastly distant concepts. An invisible, immense gap always seemed to exist between them. However, it seems that this gap has been narrowing day by day with the advancement of technology. You might not realize it, but devices like smartphones, the internet, personal flying machines, or even space travel were considered impossible science fiction over 100 years ago. Yet today, we have made these things a reality. The continuous progress of science has inspired humans to dream up even bolder ideas. Indeed, humanity has embarked on projects that seem to have leapt straight out of the movies into real life. From teleportation, creating super soldiers, to enabling humans to live at the bottom of the ocean. Aren't these all concepts that once belonged to science fiction? Today, we will explore incredible projects, experiments, and even ideas that humans have researched and are bringing to life. Welcome to the video, Science Fiction and the Ambitions of Humanity. If there's one field that is always ahead of its time, I'm certain it must be military technology. War has always been the most powerful motivator for humans to create new technologies, conceive groundbreaking ideas, and conduct unimaginable experiments. Super soldiers are something that every military in the world dreams of possessing. These emotionless destruction machines, equipped with superhuman abilities dozens of times greater than the average person, would guarantee absolute victory for any side that possessed them. We know about super soldiers from science fiction, where they possess a variety of forms and abilities. These could be biological super soldiers with altered genes, like mutants, super soldiers created by special serums, like Captain America, or cyborgs of beings that are part human, part machine. But this doesn't stop at science fiction. Humans have genuinely conducted experiments to create super soldiers, and even immortal ones. During World War II, Nazi Germany carried out brutal experiments on humans, including women and children, to test their endurance under the impact of weapons, diseases, and harsh environments. From this, secret projects to develop evil super soldiers were permitted to advance. With bizarre research and insane ideas, the Nazis sought not only to create strong, cold-blooded super soldiers, but also to achieve human immortality over time. But how were these super soldiers created, and did this mad project succeed? The answer lies in the use of chemicals and special stimulants. Participants in the project were allegedly given DYX, a special stimulant in capsule form. They took it before embarking on marches across harsh terrain, carrying backpacks many times heavier than normal. In practice, this drug significantly boosted endurance and focus among test subjects. These super soldiers of the future marched continuously for up to 130 kilometers before collapsing from exhaustion. Although many later became addicted to the drug, DYX was still deemed a success and was officially used in limited capacity on the battlefield starting March 16, 1944. However, this was far from the ultimate goal for the Nazis. The German researchers aimed even higher, to make super soldiers immortal, with infinite lifespans to serve the army indefinitely. In 1999, old Nazi documents discovered in Hamburg revealed some rather bizarre experiments. You would be forgiven for doubting their legitimacy, as they appear to straddle the line between science and mysterious science fiction. The documents describe an outlandish idea. Our bodies die because our brains die. The brain controls all biological processes, including death itself. According to Nazi scientists, the brain possesses something called a universal kill switch, a function that signals the body to begin deteriorating at a certain age, ultimately leading to death. If this kill switch could be disabled, the countdown to death would stop, aging and decay would cease, and humans would become immortal. Admittedly, the scientific basis for this theory is unclear. However, it does sound plausible, assuming you aren't overly strict about scientific principles. But the Nazis had no intention of stopping at a theoretical concept. They allegedly conducted real experiments on human subjects. It is said that in 1942, Nazi scientists selected a location in Japan and their ally to conduct these experiments. They established an orphanage outside Hiroshima, where abducted children were used as test subjects. The reasoning was that the kill switch function in children's brains hadn't yet been activated, making the research easier to conduct. To identify this mysterious function, the scientists performed brain surgeries on both adults and children, comparing results. They claimed to have located the part of the brain that controlled all conscious activities. From there, they began surgically removing what they believed to be the kill switch. Initially, the procedure led to fatalities, with the children's bodies being hastily buried in shallow pits in nearby forests. Since these were orphans, their disappearances went unnoticed, and no one knew of the atrocities being committed. The scientists continued their work and eventually succeeded in removing the part of the brain believed to contain the kill switch from a young girl. The child fell into a coma after the surgery but miraculously revived. The only side effect of this process was that the girl seemed to lose the ability to sweat, and her body became frail and weak. However, what was particularly notable was that the girl would appear lifeless every night. Her bodily functions would almost completely cease, and her heart would stop beating, but by morning, everything would return to normal. The Nazis continued performing these surgeries, achieving limited success but also facing numerous failures. Some children endured unimaginable pain, suffering from necrosis, permanent disability, or even death during the experiments. Those who survived the surgeries began exhibiting strange behaviors. Had these children truly been transformed into something monstrous? What had these mad scientists created? One scientist who directly participated in the project later recounted his harrowing experience, haunted for years after the war ended. At first, the children who underwent the experiments behaved normally, playing and studying with other children. They even seemed to integrate and develop better than children living in natural social conditions. However, when left alone, they appeared to transform into entirely different beings. The children's heads could twist backward in a grotesque manner when they realized they were being observed. In those moments, you could catch a terrifying expression on their faces, enough to make even the bravest individual shudder. Yet, just as suddenly, the children would smile blankly, as though nothing had happened. When spoken to, the children appeared dazed and forgetful, their minds seemingly empty, as if their memories had been wiped clean by the experiments. But this was not innocent daydreaming. It was something far more disturbing. When the Nazis lost the war, the experiments stopped and the orphanage was abandoned. Rumors circulated that the children, left to fend for themselves, had become immortal. They neither aged nor died, and some believe they still wander the ruins of the orphanage to this day. This sounds far-fetched, of course, as it's likely that any attempt to dismantle such a horrific place would have included erasing all traces of its existence. Nazi Germany was not alone in its pursuit of super soldiers. The Soviet Union also harbored ambitions of creating such beings. However, instead of relying on stimulants to produce biological super soldiers, they chose to combine machines with human bodies to achieve their goals. Evidence for this ambition was revealed in secret documents leaked after the Cold War. In 1945, the Americans seized a Nazi laboratory on German territory. There, they discovered the bodies of Soviet soldiers who had been grotesquely altered through experimentation. Their bodies were implanted with titanium bones and mechanical joint replacements. Documents cited substantial evidence that such a program existed in the Soviet Union between 1936 and 1941. The program involved 300 volunteers whose limbs had partially been replaced with titanium prosthetics, rendering them invulnerable to bullets. Additionally, electrodes were implanted into their brains to block pain receptors. This meant they could not feel pain even when attacked or injured in parts of their bodies that remained biological. However, the side effects of these surgeries caused numerous neurological abnormalities. The super soldiers lacked the ability to learn, comprehend, or follow orders like normal humans. The Soviet Union may have inadvertently created semi-biological zombies rather than true super soldiers. As a result, these Soviet cyborg soldiers were never deployed. It is difficult to determine the degree of success of these experiments, as most of the volunteers stationed in Brest were killed by German artillery during the first days of the war. Shortly afterward, the project was cancelled in the summer of 1941. The scientists who carried out the project were reassigned to other facilities, and most of them died during subsequent conflicts. It is not difficult to surmise the real reason for their demise. The fate of the surviving soldiers remains unknown, as all information regarding the project was confiscated and classified after the war ended. The bodies that the Americans found on German territory may have been transported from the Soviet Union by the Nazis as a war trophy for further study. This project was ultimately deemed unviable for revival. With the advent of nuclear weapons, titanium-reinforced bodies would not have withstood a catastrophic strike. Allocating funds to develop super soldiers no longer made sense compared to launching a nuclear weapons program to counterbalance the United States. However, this was a conclusion drawn during the early days of the nuclear age. Later, as the number of nuclear warheads in the world grew to levels capable of wiping out humanity, it became clear that such weapons could not be deployed recklessly. Thus, the path to creating super soldiers once again reopened. And, of course, the United States could not stay absent from such a futuristic technological race. Unlike Germany or the Soviet Union, the Americans believed they could create super soldiers by directly manipulating the brain. They use electromagnetic brain stimulation devices to enhance soldiers' multitasking abilities, pushing their limits far beyond that of normal humans. Military scientists have revealed a series of experiments designed to create super soldiers with extraordinary intelligence. These successful trials utilize electromagnetic brain stimulation to improve soldiers' focus and their ability to quickly process critical situations in short periods of time. Soldiers who are most commonly subjected to this technology include drone operators, astronauts, and other essential military personnel. A team of researchers at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio wrote in an article published in The Frontier, a neuroscience-focused column, that tasks in the U.S. Air Force, such as remote control operations or piloting fighter jets, require individuals to observe and react to multiple simultaneous events over long durations. With the monotonous and exhausting nature of such tasks, the effectiveness of these pilots often declines within a short period. The electromagnetic brain stimulation device, equipped with 5 electrodes, delivers weak electrical currents through the skull to targeted regions of the cerebral cortex, thereby enhancing pilots' processing capabilities. This project is currently still under development as part of future military programs in the United States. In reality, the global race to develop super soldiers is intensifying, but no country has yet achieved substantial success in this field. Therefore, becoming the first nation to introduce super soldiers remains a strategic goal for leading global powers. It is reported that the U.S. military has spent tens of millions of dollars to turn cyborg soldiers into reality. In 2018, a top-secret project involving a series of experiments was revealed by the U.S. Department of Defense, aiming to create a formidable force of super soldiers. What was disclosed offered a glimpse into the secretive biological enhancement experiments, which the U.S. Department of Defense expects will produce a generation of soldiers with endurance and resilience, the ability to withstand harsh environments, a superior sensory perception, and overall physical capabilities compared to ordinary humans. More recently, in January 2020, the U.S. announced remarkable progress in the field of genetics applied to military advancements. Military researchers developed a gene therapy that enables mice to produce substances that counteract chemical weapons targeting the nervous system. As you might imagine, once such therapy is successfully tested on humans, its implications would be incredibly frightening. In theory, this treatment could serve as a protective shield for soldiers operating in hazardous environments. Advanced technologies are opening up opportunities for humanity to turn dreams that were once considered far-fetched into reality. However, every technology has two sides. There is no such thing as an absolute benefit. Technology can be used for good purposes or evil ones. Could technologies designed to create super soldiers be misused to produce mass-killing machines? This is a question to which no one can give a definitive answer. You see, people always talk about peace, yet they prepare for war at every moment, in every corner of the world. We are living in a time of relative peace, but one that is no less chaotic. Nuclear weapons and chemical weapons, which humans are tirelessly developing, threaten the very existence of our species. Artificial intelligence, AI, is said to offer great benefits, or perhaps it could destroy humanity. War fuels scientific progress, and when science advances quickly enough, humans can dream of increasingly fantastical possibilities, like teleportation or time travel, for instance. Time and space travel have long been among the most passionately debated topics in scientific circles. Efforts to achieve this, even to this day, remain largely theoretical. However, what if I told you that we may have achieved this decades ago? That's right. While the authenticity of such claims may be questionable, we still have the right to entertain doubts based on stories and pieces of evidence that have surfaced. This brings us to Andrew Basiago, a prominent American lawyer. He claims that he was once part of a top-secret project led by the CIA, known as Project Pegasus, where he used advanced technology to travel through time. Time travel, where one shifts from one space to another, or even into a different dimension, is no longer unfamiliar or unheard of. It is no longer confined to mystical stories. Some skeptics wonder if there is any truth to the possibility of moving humans to distant places with mere willpower, or even transporting them into different timelines. We've discussed time travel in many of our videos, analyzing it from scientific perspectives and breaking down various theories. Today, however, we will focus exclusively on Project Pegasus, the bizarre and unverified case of Andrew Basiago, who claims to have participated in the US government's time travel program, is something entirely new and intriguing. What is this project? How did it come into existence? And why do people pay attention to an unproven story from a man named Andrew Basiago? According to Basiago's description, from 1962 to 1972, the United States was heavily focused on the race to conquer outer space. While all attention was directed beyond Earth, the U.S. Department of Defense initiated a top-secret project called Project Pegasus. This project was built upon quantum theory foundations allegedly left behind by scientist Nikola Tesla. It represented a technological breakthrough, leading to the development of advanced technologies capable of instantaneous teleportation through three-dimensional space and even time travel. The CIA quickly seized the opportunity and actively trained children to become the first generation of time-space explorers. The mission of this group of children included communicating with former US presidents, traveling to Mars, or establishing connections with extraterrestrial entities. The purpose was to ensure that everything within the timeline proceeded accurately. But why did the CIA choose children? In my opinion, they were ideal candidates for this mission because children's psychology is less affected and less imprinted by their experiences. Simply put, children are less shocked by what they are about to encounter. Imagine how an adult would react when communicating with someone long deceased, being sent back to the past, or encountering strange extraterrestrial beings. Additionally, the US government had studied the effects of time travel on the bodies and minds of adults and discovered that they were prone to insanity and mental breakdowns. Fortunately, children's brains are not yet fully developed, so the negative impacts of these experiments were significantly reduced. Basiago claimed he had worked for many years at Curtiss-Wright in New Jersey. It was there that he first encountered a space-time portal, which would later be used for time and space teleportation. He explained that, in the early days, he was selected to assist in conducting experiments utilizing wormhole technology, a concept rooted in theoretical physics. This technology allowed for space-time traversal, enabling one to travel vast distances in the blink of an eye or move across time itself. So, what exactly is a wormhole and how does it work? Until the early 1900s, Newton's theory of gravity was widely accepted among scientists. According to this theory, all objects in the universe, including you and me, possess an inherent force that attracts other matter. The larger the object, the stronger its gravitational pull. This explains why we remain attached to Earth instead of floating into space. However, in 1915, Albert Einstein completely redefined the idea of gravity. He argued that gravity is actually the result of distortions in space-time. Essentially, the presence of an object causes space and time around it to warp, creating an imprint on the universe. The wormhole, also known more familiarly as a Einstein-Rosen bridge, was first proposed in 1916, although it was not called that at the time. Nearly 20 years later, in 1935, Einstein and physicist Nathan Rosen used the general theory of relativity to provide a detailed explanation of this concept and proposed the existence of a bridge-like structure in the universe. These bridges connect two separate points in space and time. The theory essentially creates a shortcut, allowing humans to reach distant locations in the universe without worrying about the speed of spacecraft. This shortcut was called the Einstein-Rosen bridge, or wormhole. According to Einstein and his colleague Nathan Rosen, a wormhole could form if space is warped in such a way that it connects two distant points in space-time. The result is a tunnel-like structure, which could be either straight or curved, linking two regions of the universe that are far apart. To understand this concept, imagine you're holding a sheet of paper and marking point A and point B far apart. Now, fold the paper in half without letting the two ends touch. If you want to travel from A to B in normal space, you would have to move across the flat surface of the paper, a longer distance. However, if you were to travel through a wormhole connecting the 2 points via the space between the surfaces of the paper, the distance would be significantly shorter. Wormholes can connect different points within the same universe, or they may even connect entirely different universes. Returning to Basiago, he described a time travel device called the chronovisor, which utilized plasma containment technology and wormhole mechanics. Basiago recounted that the chronovisor had once transported him to Gettysburg in 1863. According to him, the space bridge, as Basiago called it, possessed latent energy and the ability to penetrate the universe. After activating the time machine, it created a vortex-like tunnel from radiation energy that could bend time. Participants in the project would step into this quantum energy field, and all reportedly felt as though they were being pulled through a spinning vortex tunnel before reaching their predetermined destination. During his first time travel experiment in 1970, Basiago claimed he was transported to Albuquerque, New Mexico. At a lunch gathering, he encountered Jack Jobs and his son, who allegedly informed him that they would one day become president. Strangely enough, within moments, Basiago found himself suddenly back in the room where the experiment had originally begun. In the subsequent experiments, Basiago claimed he was transported to Gettysburg in 1863, just minutes before Abraham Lincoln delivered his famous speech during the onset of the American Civil War. He also recounted being present at General George Washington's camp during the American Revolutionary War and even traveling to the early days of the era when Jesus Christ preached. Basiago revealed that the CIA wanted to verify the authenticity of these historical events. In reality, they had gathered numerous significant details through the children involved in the experiments, including himself. What was strange, however, was that Basiago had no knowledge of his time travel experiences until much later. Upon examining a photograph taken in 1863, he suddenly recognized himself at the age of 10. The child standing in the middle of the picture, gazing off to the right. These bizarre experiments allegedly took place in the spring of 1972 at a laboratory in East Hanover, New Jersey, under the supervision of Dr. Sterling Colgate. According to Basiago, the children who participated in the experiments were not only sent to the past, but also transported into the future. In 2045, Basiago claimed to have been transported to a building constructed from a rare VF alloy. There, he was tasked with retrieving a small box containing microfilm. This microfilm allegedly held countless documents, including knowledge of all future historical events, which he then brought back to 1970. Thanks to these microfilms, people in the 1970s were able to view images of the future world, including scenes of terrorist conflicts, natural disasters, and pandemics. In addition to his involvement in Project Pegasus, Basiago also proclaimed himself as a pioneer in exploring life on Mars. Teleportation to Mars was reportedly one of the program's missions, which allegedly occurred in 1980. He and several other children were sent as Earth's ambassadors to establish contact with other civilizations within the galaxy. At one point during the Mars mission, Basiago claimed to have encountered aliens, or, at the very least, intelligent beings with a similar appearance. However, this wasn't the most shocking part of the story. Things took an even more astonishing turn when Basiago declared that former US President Barack Obama was among those who participated in the Mars mission that year. This revelation created a significant stir across media outlets and public discourse. Journalists and analysts couldn't ignore such a sensational claim, prompting widespread calls for the White House, in particularly President Obama, to provide an official response. As expected, the White House categorically denied any information related to extraterrestrial entities, offering no formal response. However, Basiago boldly revealed further details, claiming that during the teleportation mission to Mars, Obama used the alias Barry Soetoro, and at the time, he was just 19 years old. In a 2012 discussion, Basiago claimed he had evidence of an advanced civilization on Mars. This evidence consisted of photographs showing Martian rock formations that appeared to have been carved by intelligent hands. According to him, for the US government, utilizing quantum technology is not only about technological advancement, but also a means of political control, similar to how members of the Bush family were allegedly informed about their special missions. He asserted that the government could apply the same approach to others. Another piece of evidence that Basiago believed supported his story was a prediction. Between now and 2028, he would be elected president or vice president of the United States. This was information reportedly revealed to him by CIA members at the time. Unfortunately, Basiago failed to pass the 2016 primaries, and his efforts to become president ended unsuccessfully. He also failed to raise the minimum $5 million required for his campaign fund. Still, Basiago has 5 more years to fulfill this prophecy and win one of the top 2 positions in the White House. Unlike other candidates, Basiago publicly outlined 100 detailed policies that he plans to implement if elected president. Most of his policies focus on investing in public education, developing green energy, advocating neutrality, and promoting religious tolerance. However, the first action he promises to take upon assuming office is to declassify everything related to time travel technology, including the chronovisor, a 3-dimensional teleportation device mentioned earlier. Given the tremendous potential of quantum technology, Basiago believes revealing it to the public could solve global transportation issues, enabling people and goods to be moved instantaneously. He clarified that while time travel technology would not be made accessible to ordinary citizens, due to the risk of creating dangerous chaos, the public still has the right to know what is truly happening. Basiago also insists that the truth about US space explorations, advanced civilizations on other planets, and the presence of extraterrestrial beings living on Earth will be revealed. But are Basiago's claims true? Perhaps we will never know, or at the very least, between now and 2028, part of this story might be proven or debunked. Science fiction is increasingly becoming a part of reality. Issues like time travel and artificial intelligence are growing more complex as science progresses. Can you imagine how many ideas from movies will become reality in the future? Today's video ends here. Thank you so much for your support and for accompanying us on this journey. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to our channel to support us. See you all on the next video. Wishing you a wonderful day with your family.